Welcome to the Minds on a Mission podcast, the podcast where we explore the journeys that challenge us, change us, and chart the best course for our best selves. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music /Audible, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Deezer, Podbean, and Buzzsprout. I'm your host, Samantha Bailey, a content creator and entrepreneur. And before I introduce the guests, I just want to say I have been a little all over the place lately, so I do apologize about the intro being the wrong intro. And it'll probably be the wrong outro as well, but bear with me. I've just had some things, some changes in my life, so I'm a little over the place. But yes, next week we'll do better, I promise. So today's guest is Carson Steffens, and I hope I'm saying that right. And yes, let's say hi, everybody, to Carson.
What's up?
How are you today?
Doing good, Sam. Thank you so much for having me on here. It's a real honor.
Of course. And I do apologize about the intro.
You're good. No worries.
I was thinking as I was starting it, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I set up the intro and the outro for this episode. And I was like, yay.
Hey, it's all good. It's all good. I'm here, and that's all that matters.
Yes, it is. It gets a little hard doing this all by myself. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Hey, trial and error, right? All about experimentation.
Yes. So at the beginning, I like to ask if you could just introduce yourself. That way, if anyone wants to know more about you and they don't know who you are, we'll get to share that with them.
For sure, yeah. So my name is Carson Steffens. I am from Jacksonville, Florida. I currently reside here as well. I just moved back in June from South Carolina. I was doing some work out there and decided I wanted to come home. So I live out by the beach, which is nice. About a 5-minute drive. I can go get sunrise if I want to, or sunset. Self-made entrepreneur, speech therapist by trade. I just love enhancing people's lives, making them better, and really just allowing people to live their best life. I am a faith-based entrepreneur. I lead with a servant's heart, and I mean, we all have our moments in life, but I just look for the good in people and really challenge them to unlock their potential that they might keep stored away. They might keep locked up because they're in fear or nervous or anxious about what they possibly accomplish in life.
Thank you for sharing that. That was wonderful. And yeah, that made me think. So I wanted to ask, could you share a little bit about your upbringing in Florida and how it has shaped your perspectives today?
Yeah, so grew up in a two-parent household. We had a younger brother who's 28 now. Always played sports. My dad was my coach up until high school, and my parents really instilled a hard work ethic in me and my brother. And because I would see my mom work late hours, I would see my dad work. And it really was like, okay, so I need to follow suit. They were leaders of the house, and I wanted to be just like them and then go above and beyond. And so when I was about 7 years old, I started stuttering, and it wasn't like too bad. Didn't really hinder me too much until I got to more high school, where I was bullied, teased, harassed, embarrassed. I got punched in the face because I stuttered. And so I really let it define who I was, and I didn't really have any confidence, or I had low self-esteem, and it hurt, but I used that as like, not necessarily as a crutch, but as ability to tell my story, and to use that as like a turning point in my life. And so that was the onset of things. And I really just, as I grew up, as I went to school, college, got my bachelor's and master's degree, I really embraced my stutter. I allowed it to tell my story and to help others that have gone through it as well, to realize that they're not alone in this, and that it's a part of life and that you should embrace it. Don't let it be like a separate entity or a different person. It's just who you are, and we all have our quirks, and just embrace yours.
Right. And That's yeah, definitely. It's weird to think about like how like things like that, like you being bullied, kind of almost like it's like your armor, you know what I mean? Like something that really is like, wow, okay, like, you know, 'cause, there are a lot of people out there, who struggle with that where, you know, finding ways to take things that you struggle with and being able to turn that into a strong point, like, that to me really is, like, a skill set, like, being able to recognize, like, okay, like, I could be down about this or, you know, have negative thoughts about this, but then also, like, finding that way to be like, "Okay, well, how about I see the positive in it, and, like, what can I do to really utilize this and, um, make a change for my life?" So I really appreciate you sharing that. That
Of
was great.
course.
Um, so I know you talked to a little bit about how you are faith-based. So I wanted to ask, how does your faith, um, influence your approach to entrepreneurship?
It's a good question, Sam. So really, just just trusting God. And I know it sounds more simple than it actually is, but just allowing Him to work and to make allow my business to thrive. You know, for a while, I thought hustle and grind was that you don't stop. And what I realized was even though God wants you to have success, He wants you to thrive. He also wants you to rest. He also wants you just to be like, Carson, I got this. Sam, I got this. You know, those gentle reminders that give us. And so that is my foundation. That is what I used to really just to be my best version of myself. Yeah, I stumble. Yeah, I mess up. And so like people say, oh, you're faith based, but you curse. Okay, yeah, it happens. You know, so I think really just allowing, and I mean, not like, but being tangible when I do it. You know, because people will say, well, I'll just pray about it. And then I'm like, okay, but you're not doing anything to further that. And so, if I don't have that faith, I don't have Jesus at the center of my business and my life. Nothing else will. I mean, I'm not where I'm at today because of my own strength, my own will. And so, knowing that my compass points north because of Him, that's what allows me to thrive and allows me to really just pour out my heart to others that I believe can benefit from what I do, and really just gonna get like a twofold, you know, get the gospel out and get the opportunity out.
Right. And that made me think too, like, um, I know religion and stuff's kind of a touchy subject, but it made me think like even if you're not religious or you know maybe you're not faith based, I know a lot of people are into like manifesting and writing down things like that. So it made me think too, like if you're into that, maybe say you're you know maybe you're not faith based. It very much is similar too, though, in the sense of like you said, it yes, it's nice to jot down like, okay, this is what I want to do and like try to think of different ways of like how you can receive that energy. But if you're just writing down and saying it but not taking any action, like it's not gonna do anything. It's not gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna become a millionaire and it's just gonna happen. Like,
Right.
no, that is great to start, you know, trying to find ways to receive that energy, but you also have to put in the work. Like that very much is hand in hand. So I really like that you shared that. Um, and also made me think too of um like trusting in God and stuff. I for the longest time, I don't know about you, but for the longest time I kind of religion was a touchy thing for me. The longest time I was agnostic, but now I'm kind of leaning more towards Christian and so I went to this thing that's called Celebrate Recovery and it I went to this last night. It was the very first time and very different for me. Like I said, I grew up agnostic, so it's very different for me. But yeah, kind of hearing like similar things like what you're saying. Like I noticed that too, that people are saying that's kind of something they've struggled with is like having the trust in God or like, you know, when you make a mistake, like kind of figuring out like, okay, how do I work on this? Like So that was another thing that I like kind of just thought about when you're talking about that. So I know you said you were a speech therapist, right?
Mm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Like what made you get into speech therapy?
Yeah, so it's actually my stutter. I
Okay.
wanted to give back to the community that gave me a voice. That's what I always say. I say that very, very humbly. And I'm almost glad I went through it in life. Went through that at that time. People think that's weird, but I mean, like, it was like the jump start to my career, to my life, and um, it just really allowed me to gain an appreciation for it, and then becoming a speech therapist and seeing patients, whether they're kids or adults, that are going through a stuttering problem or a fluency issue. And I'm like, I was right there. And being able to relate them, it's like, hey, buddy, I went through this too. And then, like, they're like, wait, you did, Mr. Carson? And I mean, that's just music to my ears, because then they're like, okay, it's okay to stutter. It's okay to have speech problems. We all go through things in life. Communication is an integral part of life in general and part of our success. And not having clear communication is can be a burden. A lot of people are um, scared of their own voice because they don't think it holds value, it holds merit, it holds power. And so, being a speech therapist, people are like, Carson, well, once you become super successful with your business, are you going to quit speech therapy? And honestly, I don't think I can, because I mean, I'm just too passionate about it. It just brings me joy. I mean, I could do teletherapy or something, or reduce my hours, but I mean, I can never give it up. It's something that, like, it will never go away. And so, being able to do it each and every day, because I still work my job, I'll be honest, but I love it. It's not a job. It's not work. It's fun. I get to go have fun. I get to wear scrubs. I get to have a good old time. And so, um, it just every day I wake up with a smile on my face, knowing I'm gonna make a difference and impact on someone else's life, and that brings me joy and that brings me humbleness.
That's awesome. I'm glad you were able to find that. And like I said earlier, being able to take something that might have seemed like as a negative in life, but turn that around. Um, into like I don't remember it, but my mom said too that yeah, like me and my brother both were in speech therapy, and I've actually like, cause not I just switched jobs, but I was working at a daycare, and yeah, that was something I very much recommended too. Like I very much recommend anyone who thinks that they may need it or their kids may need it, like definitely do that. And it's a weird thing too because I think sometimes people have shame in it, like, feeling like, oh, like, will I be judged for doing this or will I be judged for having my kids doing this? But it's like it it shouldn't be something that you would be judged by, and if anyone thinks that, it's like it doesn't matter. If it's helping you, then you got to do what's best for you. So, yeah, I definitely think speech therapy is great. And even to like different forms of working on communication, because like you said, communication is very important. It's very essential for building relationships, and so I definitely think whatever way you want to do that to enhance that skill set, definitely do that. There's tons of resources out there. Definitely look into that. Um so I wanted to ask, what are some significant challenges that you have faced on your journey? And that can be through anything or through speech therapy, just throughout your life.
Oh, gosh. Oh, goodness. I had some doubt, in my life. We've all had doubt. Fear of failure, like, well, what happens if I don't succeed? You have those racing thoughts, those negative thoughts, and the enemy comes in and likes to destroy any hope that you have. And what it came down to was how bad I want it. I know. I mean, I'm a single guy and I want a family one day, and I'm going to get that. And I want to make sure that I do everything that I can now, sacrifice now to get to that point. And challenges, like I said, were doubt, were fear of failure, were what people thought of what I did. But and it just, I was like, okay, am I doing the right thing? Am I in the right spot? Am I with the right people? And a challenging part in this has really, I've really asked God to be like, all right, separate people that don't need to be in my life, whether they're current friends or people that were in my life previously that I should like completely take contact out. And so it's been really deciphering and seeing, all right, who needs to be in my life and who should go away, who should be cut out. That's probably the biggest thing right now because I mean, sometimes I do settle. I do have a little bit of fun. And I just want to make sure that I'm not getting too distracted or off the beaten path because I mean, that my ADHD, it happens a lot. And so that'll probably be the biggest thing, biggest, not struggle, but biggest challenge I'm overcoming every single day. It's like, all right, so is it worth losing a couple hours of sleep to make sure I get what I need to be done for the next couple of days or the next week or the next month or the next year? Am I setting myself up for success? And also not getting mad at myself for not doing something right away. And what I mean by that is like if I don't do a certain amount of research, certain amount of work, then like for one day, like if I feel like crap or I'm sick, just like don't beat myself up. Everything will happen in timing, and that's what it's all about. Just recognizing that I'm human and that I'd rather work, get rest rather than burn out. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we become entrepreneurs to escape the burnout. So those are some of my challenges that I've dealt with along my path that I'm overcoming each and every day. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I I relate to that a lot. And I know a lot of people do. That's just, especially too, like you said, like becoming an entrepreneur. I mean, I think it just accelerates those thoughts. Like, you know what I mean? Because the number one thing that's like important to people like as an entrepreneur is just like, oh, how can I grow? And that I feel like it just kind of makes everything like come rushing in, you know what I mean? And it can be a lot because again, I always say like issues with like shiny object syndrome or comparison, like those are big ones where, you know, you kind of get in your head and are just like, okay, well, you know, this person has it all figured out. How come I don't have it figured out? Or, you know, and that's something I've struggled with a lot. And I've had to remember this phrase of like comparison is the thief of joy, and having to like remember like I am on my own journey, and that like you said, I have to just give myself grace. And that's something that like I preach about a lot is like and that's why I related to that a lot is because I struggle with that as well all the time, where same thing where like, so I'll kind of share, we're getting personal. um One of the big things that I've really wanted to get back on track with is health, and working out. I feel like I haven't really focused on my health for at least a couple of months, and so I've kind of just been on myself like, why haven't you figured this out? Why can't you get up early? Why can't you just, you know, and having to remind myself like, okay, try again tomorrow. So that's kind of been something I've been struggling with is, you know, just being very hard on myself in that sense, and just being like, why haven't you been taking these actions? Or, you know, why are you still making excuses? But then I have to remember like maybe there's something else I need to work on, or there's something blocking me, or just, you know, I have, like I said, like more things to work on internally before I can, you know, like be able to fully commit to myself, because I feel like I still have issues with excuses and stuff.
Yeah. I
So
mean, I like to say that we're all like, we can be our biggest supporter or our worst critic. And I mean, just because it's like, yes, you're doing great, you're doing great. Oh, you're a piece of shit, kind of thing. Like and then it's like, then you get depressed, you feel guilty, you feel not worthy, and then all that regret, that doubt starts coming in. But then you have those 3 or 4 high days. Oh yeah, everything's going great, everything's going good, you're all happy and everything, and so it's just really being able to keep the upbeat mindset, that mentality, and it's like, hey, my world might be crashing down metaphorically, but I'm all good. I'm still living. I got a roof over my head, a bed to sleep in. I got a car that works. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I have family that loves me, and you have to. It's the small things in life that have the biggest impact. The ones that are gonna really just allow you to be the best version of yourself. I mean, the big things. I don't. That's why I don't preach materialistic things. I don't at all. I like the little things in life because they're gonna be the things that are gonna stay there the longest and mean the most to me. That I'm gonna keep dear and close.
I agree. And yeah, that too is like how I, because a big thing for me was my mindset, like that, like I've really worked a lot on, and like you said, like setting those boundaries and kind of um being able to be like, okay, well, this is not good for me, or this person's not good for me. And so I've definitely done a lot of that, but I still and this is a thing that you'll struggle with forever. It's just learning like how can I pick myself up faster. Like, I don't think it's ever going to be a day where you may not even have one thought like that happens, that's internally like what our subconscious like wants to do, is to point out the negatives. But it's just being able to like kind of try to figure out how to rewire your brain and how to bounce back. It's like, okay, I had that thought, the old me would have been, depressed for a couple weeks or even months and sit in that. But now, like, I'm in a way different point where I acknowledge that thought and I reflect on it. And then I, like you said, kind of think about like, okay, well, these are the things you have done. Obviously, acknowledge that I still want to work on this area, but kind of just taking the time to reflect and be like, okay, well, I have done a lot more than I'd like to give myself credit for. So just kind of trying to, like you said, be more positive and be like, okay, I need to stop being so harsh. Like, I have done a lot of these other things. It's just so easy to be like, oh, well, I haven't perfected this yet. But it's like, okay, well, like, keep reflecting on it. What do you need to work? So I definitely agree.
Amen.
Um, so we talked about some struggles. So now I kind of want to ask, what are some milestones that you've achieved in your career that you're proud of?
I can say I'm probably the one of the most like the confident points in my life, like the highest. Um, because for the longest time I cared about other people's opinions of me. I was always seeking validation, seeking confirmation, seeking accreditation. And now I don't care. I say what's on my mind. I mean, I have my own, like my podcast is called Fierce and Unfiltered, so I have no filter whatsoever. So I say what's on my mind, and I just love when someone asks for my opinion on things because I tell it how it is, and so that's I I would say being confident, and really just allowing me, to be Carson Steffens. For the longest time, I didn't know who I was. I let other people define who I was. I lost my identity. I'll be honest. Um, and so, being the best version of myself each and every day, not just going through the motions, but rejoicing, being happy, and saying, "Hey, I got this. It's taken time, but I got this. I'm being consistent. I'm being intentional with my time and people I spend my time with." So um, I'm paying off debt, which is a huge thing for a lot of people now in today's society. Um, I'm winning at life. I mean, it's simple as that. I I love what I do, and I'm gonna keep doing it. I found my calling in life, my purpose, and I'm riding into the sunrise with it.
That is awesome. And I I definitely relate in I feel like I had that struggle too for the longest time of like worrying about whatever other people thought, or and two, that kind of ties in with like finally being able to cut off certain relationships, because it was very much the same thing of just like, you know, overthinking certain situations or friendships, or kind of, which can be good, because ultimately that did lead me to being like, okay, like I noticed this is not good for me. But in the period of time where I feel like I was just overanalyzing it, and it just kind of was making me feel very down and feeling like I was very alone. Um, in that time, because I didn't realize like, okay, no, this just actually means that the friendship or whatever is not good for you. Because if you feel like you've really tried to work on something and it's not reciprocated, like that is not your fault. But I mean, when you love someone and stuff, you very much care about what other people think, and so kind of just allows you to make excuses for certain things. um so yeah, I relate to that, just being like able to realize like, okay, I'm just gonna be me, and I'm gonna set boundaries, and I'm gonna may hurt a lot of people's feelings, but I know that I'm doing what's best for me. So I definitely think that's a good thing. Do you feel like you've always been like that, or you were saying like if it's something you kind of acquired, like being able to be unfiltered and just not care what other people think?
I think it just got to a point where I was just like, this is not the life I want to live. And I was like, you know what? I took so much shit from people in life. I was a pushover, I was a people pleaser, and I was taken advantage of. And I was like, okay, I'm done with this. And I mean, it took 30 years, but hell, I'm here now. And it just got to the point where I was like, you know what? If someone wants my opinion, I'm going to tell it how it is. And if they don't like it, they don't have to be here. Um, and I put stuff on my page all the time, and I don't, it's my page. I can do what I want to do. It's my life. I want to do it. I mean, until you start paying my bills, I don't give a shit about what you say or what people think about me. Because I mean, because I mean, I can send my bills to people all the time. If they want to pay them, that's great. And they can live my life for me, but that's not how it works, And so what I do is unconventional. What I do is not traditional. Being your own boss is not the norm. So I mean, yeah, I'm a black sheep. Yeah, I'm an outcast. I don't care though, because I mean, I'm living the life that I want to live on my own terms. But people are sitting there in the mud, stuck. And so what it came down to was like, all right, Carson, so keep living the life you're living, being a people pleaser, being a pushover, and not growing, not maturing, not really just advancing in life, and staying stuck. And I just didn't want to be stuck anymore. I chose growth. I chose life rather than death.
I I definitely think that that's a really good thing to be able to get to that point. And yeah, I feel like throughout everything, it's like I genuinely mean it. Like I do relate to a lot of this. And yeah, I felt the same way, where I just felt like I never wanted to hurt someone's feelings, or I didn't want to offend someone, or so I very much was the same way, and I feel like that kind of led me into like very toxic situations and just toxic habits. So um I think that, yeah, that's a really good thing that you were able to get to that point and realize, okay, like this is something I want to change, and you did it. And a lot of people may either not recognize that, or get to the point where they recognize it but don't take any action, and you did both, which is amazing. So I definitely think that is something to be proud of. And I've struggled with like kind of saying like those things to myself. Like it's very easy for me to recognize things in other people, but then saying it to myself. So it's like I've worked on that as well, being like, like acknowledging as well for myself, like you also have done that. And like, I feel like it's hard sometimes to like give compliments to yourself, because
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, It's like so much easier to be, you know what I mean? Because it's like, well, like you said, like the inner critic, it's easier to be like, oh, blah, 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 to yourself, and then everyone else is like, you're giving the energy you should be giving to yourself, which is something I've worked on. It's like having that energy all around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, like, because recently people have said, Carson, we're so proud of you. And I was like, you don't know how much that means to me. And they're like, what do you mean, dude? I'm like, that means the world. Um, Going through depression for 8 or 9 years and then feeling I was worthless, feeling I didn't, no one wanted to be with me or no one wanted to be around me. And now people are like, dude, you look like an influencer. You look like a freaking an inspiration or a celebrity. And that, I'm just like, where did that come from? I mean, it inspires me every single day. I'm thinking about writing my own book one of these days, sometime soon. So, I mean, and I say this all humbly, man. Words are so important and can have so much impact on somebody. And I mean, when people say that, I'm like, I'm speechless. And so it just, I think we all have a story to tell. And I mean, being vulnerable, being open, being honest, and being like, "Hey, this is me. Whatever you want to do next is up to you." Um, but I'm sure I something in my story can help you out, and that's what I want to do. I just want to just help people and do whatever I can, whatever it takes, however long it takes. I want people to know how awesome they are, how great they are, and that they can accomplish so much in life. And it just pains me and makes me sad when I see someone who has the highest potential not use it. That's the thing that makes me sad in life. So
Me too. I feel it too, and that's almost funny to me because I feel like I recently, like, with my friend, because we kind of have similar conversations, but that's something I say too a lot is like it. I feel the same way. Like I feel like I have the ability to see like things in people and recognizing like people's skill sets, and then I just think like how a lot of people just kind of stick to the regular 9 to 5, and like they have so much going for them, like they have so much potential, but a lot of people they don't take it, they just throw their dreams down the drain, and they stick to what everyone else does, and what they're told to do, which it just, like you said, always just makes me so sad because I'm like, and that's not saying like, oh, you have to become an entrepreneur, or but it's just saying like, a lot of people have passions, but they're like, oh, I could never do that, or and it just always breaks my heart because I'm like, you could do anything that you want in the world if you really tried, and if you really believed in yourself that you could do it. But a lot of people, they have that hard time of seeing what they could really do.
right.
And I think I had another thought. When you're talking about like words being very powerful and stuff, it made me think because actually my friend told me about this, but it was like a studies that were done on water, like two different things of water, and you spoke positive words to one and then negative words to another, and it just makes me think about that because like the molecules in the water like was different based on each one, which is like crazy to think about that like is even possible, but it just, what I mean, it's very much true, that is very much how it is in life, because it's like if you have negative energy and talk to yourself negatively, and that's like your whole aura and everything, it's like that's very much what you're going to receive. And that, go ahead, I see you.
But no, no, yeah, it's. I was gonna say like because the brain, as you know, Sam, it's very powerful, and so whatever you tell it, it's gonna believe, and it's gonna keep
Yes.
that thought until you yourself change it. So I mean, if you're putting yourself down constantly, you're like, oh, I could have done better. I wish I would have done better. All this stuff, or I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do this. I didn't do this. Your brain is like information overload, and it shuts down.
Hmm.
It's basically like, well, f this. I'm not doing this anymore. But I mean, if you're speaking positivity and words affirmation into it, it's gonna really It's going to challenge you. It's going to get you uncomfortable. It's going to want to make you do things that you didn't want to do before. And you're like, why was I scared of this? Why was I fearful of this? It just takes, I mean, so many people will put just their pinky toe in the water, but once put their full foot in there, and then they put both feet in there, and they put their whole body in there, it's a game changer for sure. I mean, some people go into something with just baby steps. Other people go full body, and they are like, why didn't I do this sooner? That's what I hear people do it that join my business. They're always like, Carson, I wish I would have done this sooner. I'm like, dude, you're preaching to the choir. Me too. You know, because I mean, there's opportunities abound in life, and you just have to just be like, you know what? I'd rather try it and see what happens rather than look back and be like, damn, I wish I would have tried that. That's the thing, that example I always tell people. I'm like, you can give it a try. Well, I don't want you to try. I want you to go all in, or I want you to go away. I'm honest with them. I'm like, hey, I won't waste your time if you won't waste my time. And so it's like, if you want it, cool. If you don't, that's cool too. I respect your decision. It's your life. It's your choice, your decisions.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think my thing with certain things, I've actually had the opposite issue, which sounds weird, but like when it comes to when I was actively going and stuff, like working out and take care of my health, I felt like I almost was trying to push too much at once. Like I had gone from like never doing it to like trying to do like 5 days a week. And
Yeah.
and and so I realized, and what I've kind of been like working on is like trying to set smaller achievable steps, so, like smart goals, like things that like are pushing me, but it's also like it's something that I know I could, you know what I mean? Because
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, I don't go at all. Oh, now, and that's how in my head I think, oh, well, no, now I'm gonna go to 5 days a week, and then I'm like, well, you know, what I mean, my brain and body is going from nothing to 5 days a week, and it's having a hard time like catching up with that. So it's like realizing like, okay, try 2 times a week, you know? So that's kind of where I've just been like, I need to set goals that like I know it could exceed, but also aren't, you know what I mean? They're good steps towards it. So that's
Right.
kind of what I've been doing recently. It's kind of rewriting like how I want to go about it, because I very much felt like I was trying to do way too much at once and it was overwhelming me. So I kind of
Mhm.
just like slow down for a little bit, because I have the issue sometimes of just being like, oh, I gotta go, and I'm like, okay, be in the moment, relax, like, you know what I mean? I very much think like, oh, I need to achieve this at certain times. Like, it's good to have those goals, but also realize like I need to have attainable goals. I can't be like, oh yeah, this will just magically happen out of nowhere. It's like,
Yeah.
steps, take steps. And so it's kind of been where I've been at, like, slow down, take action, but don't feel like you have to just jump right in all the deep end. It's like, you know what I mean? If you've never been in the water, how are you going to go to the deep end when you've never been in the water? It's like, make increments, slowly go to the deep end. So
Yeah.
it's
I think. Yeah, that's a great point as well. And yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what you said about being on the go constantly. People are like, Carson, you're just like, you never stop. I'm like, I can't. It's like my brain is going a million miles,
yes,
a billion miles per hour, and they're just like, Carson, just take a step and just take 5 minutes. I'm like, I can't. It's like I've always said that I said that a lot. I don't know why, but that like if I'm bored, I go crazy. Like I have to be out driving, running errands, doing something that's productive that requires motion of some sort of fashion. I can't just sit down and be like this. I can't. I get bored. I have to go to the gym. I have to go do something. I have to go to the beach. Do whatever it is to get my mind off of things. Because if my mind is just like if it's just stagnant, I grow gross with myself. If that makes sense. And so, but but yeah, I think I'm alike in that regard about the go mentality. People are like, "You're like Carson, you're always on your phone." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, because it's just bringing off the." And like sometimes I just want to just chuck it. I'm like, "Fuck," seriously. And so, but that's just the way life works. And I mean, I'm working towards a life that it's going to be the point where I can just work on autopilot, and I'm getting to that point, and it's going to be great. And so, I mean, doing the stuff now, the heartaches now, the hardships now, to live a life of peace and joyousness.
I love that. I mean, I since the moment we well, let's say first met, but I mean, virtually, we've never
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, of like say first met sounds weird because I'm like we never met in person, but I mean we've talked quite a bit online,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've always felt connected to you, and I like anytime I talk about you, I'm like, oh yeah, my buddy Carson. Like I always say, because like I feel like we're on that level. We've talked quite a bit, and
Yeah.
I very much connect with you. I feel like we're very much alike in a lot of ways, and yeah, I'm the same way where it's like I think it was like 2 years ago or something. I got my wisdom teeth removed, and I was going crazy because I was told I had to rest, and I was like, I
Yeah.
don't want to. I was like, I was having such a hard time because during that time I slept so much, and I would say we're in my head where I'm like, if I have like a whole day of doing nothing, I'm in my head. I'm like, you could have used that time to do something productive. Like,
Amen.
why did you?
Buddy.
And then I have to remind myself, you have to have rest. You have to have time to take a break. But in my head, I'm like, no. Like, I don't, it's like this, I've been quite busy lately. And then, like 2 weeks from now, I'm like jam packed. But it's like, I almost love it because it's like you said, I'm like, I know I'm not going to be bored. Like, I'm going to be busy because it's
Right.
like, got my new job, then I got the podcast, and then I also been doing cleaning on the side. So it's like, my break time, which is like the weekend, I'm actually not getting rest because I'm cleaning other people's houses and then, doing my podcast. So it's like but I love it. I feel like I still have a lot I want to accomplish, but I feel very, very happy lately. I feel like I made a lot of good decisions, and I just know that I'm working towards myself. I'm grinding. I feel like lately I'm actually locked in, but then, of course I have a couple hours where I don't do something productive, and it's that same thing of why didn't you be productive that time? But I'm just like gotta rest because I feel like I've, like you said, been very much go 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 lately. Just like I feel like I'm never home. I'm just always, when I am home, I'm doing this. I'm on the podcast, working on my podcast, working on my other stuff. So it's a lot, but yeah, I very much relate to that, and I feel like I've just been very happy. So I can see why, it's very fulfilling, you know, being able to be like, yeah, I know I'm making an impact on people's lives, and I'm working towards, my goals. So I very much relate. So I was thinking because we talked a bit about you speech therapy and you being a speech therapist. I was wondering, kind of what are some highlights throughout your career in that? What are some things, memorable moments, or things that you feel like you've accomplished within that?
Yeah. So one of the iconic moments in my career doing that was, obviously I can't say patient's name for confidentiality, but she was at the time she was 4 or 5 years old who wasn't confident of her speech at all. We had a great time. I'd see her like once, twice a week. Um, and her mom came in one day and she was like, Carson, I don't know what you did, but my kid will not shut up. I'm like, good. So that was really heartwarming. And that was a confirmation. Like there's moments like that was just one of them. But and then kids being able to say a certain sound or being able to speak in a complete sentence and the parent just or saying their name. Um, it's the little moments, like I said. So that was one of the highlight moments of my career, and there's more to come, obviously. And I just it's a daily confirmation I was doing the right thing. That's why I can never leave speech therapy, just because I just love it so much. I mean, it's extra money too, obviously. Um, but I mean, just seeing the kids light up when they get something right, even if just one time or two times or three or four or five times. getting that right, and just seeing them smile, being able to, because I work in a school, so being able to pull them out of their general core stuff and just have play games and have a good time with them. And it's there's too many to count, too many highlights, too many iconic moments, but it is just so rewarding, so humbling, so just brings me tears of joy in some cases. I couldn't wait to tell my mom, I couldn't wait to tell my family, hey, this happened today. And so it it really solidifies that going through that as a kid really allowed me to come into my own, and to be a leader and be an example and be an icon for people that have communication difficulties.
Right. And it probably feels full circle for you, right? Just
100%. Yeah.
that's awesome. And I relate to that with, because I worked at a daycare for a while, and I've always known like this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life, but it definitely was a great experience. There was a lot of ups and downs, but like you said, like being able to work with children's a whole different experience. Especially the thought of like, knowing that like you're helping them figure out themselves and shape them into wonderful people, and you get to teach them about so many different things, and it's just seeing their excitement to learn, and it's just kind of, yeah, it's very heartwarming. And for me, although like I knew like, oh, this isn't what I want to do forever, I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, those 2 years I worked there, I built a lot of great connections with some of the kids there, and some of the staff, and I've got a couple longtime best friends that I met there, so it I definitely relate. Like it's very different, because it's like no matter what, if you're impacting people, like it's great, and that's how you get like a sense of fulfillment. It's knowing that you're having an impact, but then like to like thinking about like, oh, it's like children, like they're learning who they are, and just knowing that you're helping them throughout that process. It just almost is like on a different level.
Yeah, like that you can be like a catalyst, for that, for their life, and that just means the world to me. So,
Yes, I agree. Um, what are the most important lessons that you have learned throughout being an entrepreneur? I was very curious about this, so I wanted to ask that.
what lessons are the most important?
That
Uh,
yeah, that you've learned.
that you dictate your success. Um, and I say that because I mean, no one else is going to do the work for you. I think a lot of people, um, it's almost the last resort to develop a work ethic, because you're like, well, it's a routine to the point where, like, it's like, I feel like a work ethic is installed when a person is at their breaking point. It's like, I can't do this anymore. I have to find something new. And so dictating your success is a crucial part of that advice. And I'm like, you know what? You're in control. You're in the driver's seat, or you're either in the driver's seat or you're in the back seat. You're watching everything happen, or you're grabbing the steering wheel. You're driving. You're navigating. You're doing all the things right that you need to be doing. And to not give up. I know that sounds cliche. I know that sounds like the easy way, but I mean, giving up lets everyone else win. And when someone says they support you, I take that lightly. And I'll tell you why. Because secretly, this is just my opinion, my thought, people want you to fail. Society wants you to fail. They want to be like, I told you so. Told you it wasn't worth it. They're not going to say that, but that's what I think sometimes. Um, Especially since like they hear the term entrepreneur, they're like, "You weirdo." I'm like, "Okay, cool, I embrace it." And so, not giving up, dictating your success, um, and choosing your own path. We all, I mean, I think I say this confidently. Our goal in life, or our goals in life, is to provide for our family, provide, and do whatever we can to make sure we have food on the table, roof over our head, extra time with our present or future kids, or whatever it is. Just being there in the moment, not missing things in life. So I mean, it's like, all right, so how bad do you want it? Or can you look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing everything that I can to provide and to give a better life to my family. I had a great childhood growing up. I'm people it so and I'm but I do want to be able. I saw my parents work, and it pained me. I appreciate everything they did for me. Don't get me wrong; they've done a lot for me. I just want to be able to do that and more for my future family. I think I think dreams will just be dreams until you make them reality. Um, because people are like, well, I wish I could, or I dreamt about this. I'm like, okay, make it a reality. It's too hard. No, it's not. It's just you don't want to do it. Things will always be hard until the action is taken and put into practice. So,
Yeah, and so I had a couple thoughts on that. I like to kind of sit and think because I get it, like I call them like gold nuggets, but like things that ding ding ding, and I'm like try to recoup my thoughts because sometimes I get like you said, the ADHD. I very much
yeah,
feel
yeah.
that. I'm like I get up, it's like wait, slow down. I'm like a ping ball machine. It was like me. Um, yeah, I definitely think a lot of people like in our day-to-day lives who aren't entrepreneurs and don't understand like the mindset behind it and everything. Yeah, definitely I feel like are thinking that and think like, oh, you're crazy or like why or just kind of like you said, like say this for you, but I'm like, do you really? Are you just saying that to make me feel better or. And too, the one I always hate is like I'll share because my thing too, again, why I said we're so much alike is like I very much value transparency, and that's something that I always do on my Facebook and stuff is share things that I'm going through, and just kind of not sugarcoating it because it's like that I do have struggles. Some days I feel a lot better than others, and so I just share, okay, this is the kind of things I've learned and what I'm working on, and so a lot of the times it's like I'll have like some close people in my life be like, oh, like basically saying like, oh, you need to rest or don't overdo it or things like that, and in my head I'm like, no, like, I want you to tell me to go harder is like what I want you to say. I don't want you to tell me to slow down because I'm like, I know you're saying that because you care and you're worried that like, oh, I'm doing too much, but I'm like, it's not what I want to hear. I want,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like I'm like, I want people to be like, do better, or what I mean. It's like, but a lot of times it's people that just don't understand. They're like, well, you worked your 40-hour job, so like, why are you doing all these other things? Like, don't stress yourself out. And it's like, I can't live like this for the rest of my life. It doesn't. At the end of it, it doesn't really amount to much. Retirement
Yeah.
is,
Yeah.
and
I
it's
mean, yeah. It's like why do you work 40 hours for a 2 day vacation?
exactly.
For
And
Saturday and Sunday is your vacation, really?
And for me, it's like, I don't want to be like, oh, well, when I can finally save up enough money, I can go somewhere nice or I can do these things. Like, I I don't like having those thoughts of like, oh, what, well, when I have money. It's like very much like I want to be able to do whatever I want. I want to travel. I want to, I have so much that I want to accomplish in my life, and it's just I know that like the regular 9 to 5, like that's not gonna cut it. And it's obviously to each their own, and everybody lives their own lives. But for me, it's very much like there's so much out there, and that I want to explore and I want to experience, and it just kind of takes being on a different level.
Mhm.
So, I mean, at first it seems hard. I'm obviously still in the stage of, having to work the job and have side hustles. But like in my head, I'm like, I know this is not forever,
Right.
and during this time, like everybody has that period where it's just like, kind of like, oh, I feel like I'm juggling so much. But then when it finally starts paying off, it's like, you're very appreciative of it, and you're, it's like if you're just handed things, it wouldn't amount to anything. But it's like actually having to work for it. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And two, it's like if I didn't have any of these regular jobs, I wouldn't have understand what it's like to work with kids, and essential parenting skills. Like I wouldn't know how to change a diaper. I would have no idea. I'm like, well, I've done that like at least 5,000 times now. So, but yeah, I relate to that a lot. So I know we're kind of nearing, and what I like to do towards the end is kind of give the last few minutes for you just to kind of share whatever's on your mind, whatever you want to talk about. And yeah, allow you the space to do that.
Yeah, so I just want to say, like I said in the beginning, thank you so much for having me on, Sam. It was really on a real pleasure to be on here and just really share thoughts and bounce ideas off each other. Like you said, we are very similar in that regard and this regard in total. And wasn't an accident that our paths crossed when they did. And so I just like to be able to just speak my mind and say how it is, being transparent, being confident, being bold, and being like, hey, this is the hand that I was dealt, and this is the hand that I'm gonna keep playing, and know it's that this is a positive thing in my life, and that I'm not going back to my old self or my old ways. And even when I have bumps and obstacles in the road, that it's a part of the growing process. And I mean, I'm a big believer in no pain, no gain. So I mean, if it comes to you easy, then it's not worth it in the end. Like you said about free handouts, I don't like getting free handouts. I actually hate it. It's a pet peeve of mine. Someone's like, "Hey, here's this." I'm like, "Nope. If I didn't earn it, I don't want it. If I didn't work for it, then I don't want it." And so I'm all about organic growing, and allowing things to come. I mean, even though I'm faith based, I still believe manifestation. I still believe in it. Um, and so I don't think there's anything wrong with it, honestly, in my opinion. Some people might think differently, but each their own. But it's really just something that I think everyone should at least explore, and see what's out there. I mean, find their niche, find their calling. Because let's be honest, I don't think we were called to be slaves and work until we were 80 years old to the point where we're falling over at our job. That's just my 2 cents on the matter. I mean, yes, we need people to work jobs because I mean that's just how it is. But I mean, I don't think everyone should have to go through that. So that's just like I said, my 2 cents and my thoughts on the, in my opinion on the matter. And I mean, if people don't agree with me, that's fine. I don't care. I just live my life and stay in my own lane, and I don't cross lanes unless I absolutely have to. So
Yeah. And yeah, I always value your opinion because, like I said, I feel like we relate on a lot of things, and I very much like agree with being able to speak your mind and just truly say how you feel, and knowing that, like, there is good intent behind it. So it's not like that's something to just remember, because I know some people, like, that's the thing they worry about. It's like, oh, it's speaking my mind. Like I said, I had that thought too of like, oh, I'm gonna hurt people's feelings and stuff. But it's like, when you have good intentions, like, don't worry about it. Just say how you feel. And then obviously the people they'll be by your side. They'll support you, and then others, they'll leave, and that'll kind of wean out, who the real people are. So.
yeah,
But I thank you so very much for coming on tonight, and just sharing your life with me, getting to know more about you, and the great achievements that you've accomplished and struggles. I know a lot of people could very much relate to a lot of this and use the advice that we've been providing. So I really appreciate you coming on and
yeah,
doing.
of course.
And so I just want to ask, I know I had asked you, but or for the links, I was just more so asking like where people can find you. So if you could just tell where people could find you, that would be great. That way, if they want to reach out to you, they'll know where to go.
Yeah, so my profile on Facebook is Carson Steffens, first name, last name, Steffens, Stphens, Carson, Carson. And then on Instagram, I'm not as big as on Instagram. It's my same name as well, Carson Steffens. And then I'm on TikTok as well. You can just search me. It's like Make Money with Cars 93 or something like that. Um, but yeah, I mean, Facebook is my main traffic site. So if y'all want to find me on there, we can definitely connect and reach out to me. I don't bite. Um, I'm just like I said, I'm here to help people and to unlock their potential. So if that's something that you want to be, that you want to connect with me, that my story resonated with you, I'm more than happy to chat and talk, and we'll see where we can go. So thanks, Sam. I appreciate you having me on. It meant a lot.
Of course. And as for the podcast, I do mention it in the beginning, but I also like to kind of mention it at the end just in case you missed it. But as for finding the podcast, we're pretty much on everything. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, X. I don't think I have a TikTok. That's one thing I want to work on because I do want to start doing clips on there. So that is a possibility in the near future. I just kind of been juggling some new things, but yeah, I'm working on getting better with this. I want to be a little bit more organized. But yeah, and then I'm pretty much on everything: YouTube, Spotify. And I have my link tree, I'm pretty sure, in my Facebook. So if you're watching this through my Facebook, or I think I have it pretty much linked and everything, you can find all the links there. On the very first thing, it says Minds on a Mission podcast, and it brings you to a Google Docs that just tells you all the places you can find it. And also I have the other links linked in there as well. And then for my personal stuff, I'm really mainly on Facebook and Messenger, like you said. If you want to reach out to me there, that's very much the best place to do that. Yeah. So I want to thank you guys all for coming on tonight and sitting down with us and getting to know more about Carson. I really appreciate it. I am not sure. Yeah, I gotta figure out. I have a bunch of guests lined up, but I just don't remember who's our next guest. But you guys will find out. I'm every Monday and Friday, so you guys will have another episode on Monday. I hope you guys have a wonderful night tonight, and I will see you guys on Monday. Say bye. And I don't
Peace.
have an outro, so